In today's video, we're discussing the latest set from Scarlet Violet, that is Paradox Rift. The set's been out for roughly 3 weeks as of recording this. And with the LAIC that's happened just like the weekend, some cards have moved in price, some cards have hit what I would call the Scarlet Violet curse in terms of their price, and others have actually surprised us. So this video, I'm going to talk to you about the top 10, and I will be doing it by price, but I'll be discussing why they're the top 10 for the ones that I do know why they're there, because some of them do. I don't know why number 10 is number 10, okay, and you'll see that in a second. So without further ado, let's get into it. Right then, let's get into this. So we are starting with number 10 on the list, and that is the mhpokemonrequests illustration rare. And this is the one I don't know why it is here. Not to say it's a bad card by any means. As a potentially playable, don't know. Artwork, to me, is okay. I know some people here will be saying, but it's lovely artwork. Either way, I don't know why it's number 10. But one thing you will see, this is number 10, and it's, well, on here it says $21, $22, but the actual sort of market price for it is $18.78. It is one of those cards that has actually gone up. Lots hit a dip after sort of the first week or so, like pre-release prices. And again, I always feel like when a new set comes out and prices come out and everyone discusses it, loads of YouTube videos come out, 90% of the cards that come out at pre-release price will go down. And so unless you've got a ridiculous amount of money, I would not try and bankrupt yourself just to get some of the cards straight away. There's very few reasons to do that. And for every card that does go up in price, most come down, at least initially. And so it is definitely worth keeping an eye on card prices over the first couple of weeks. This card, however, is one of those that sort of, I think, has shocked everyone. Even when it came out, it dropped again, and then, well, essentially has doubled in price. I generally don't know why. I'm not going to do lots of research into it because I kind of like having this as a bit of an enigma at number 10. So yeah, so let me know if you think this deserves to be number 10 in the comments down below. Obviously, we've got 9 more to look at, but is this the baseline number 10? Should this be the baseline number 10, or should it be something else? It's quite a large set, so this number 10 spot could change quite a lot. And I guess maybe we'll look back into this at the beginning of the new year. At number 10, we have the first and I think only Garchomp card from this. And as you can see, price-wise, it has absolutely tanked. And this goes back to the whole pre-release come out, obviously the poster child of the set in Garchomp EX. It is the special illustration rare, so arguably more difficult to get hold of than the gold card. But as you can see, the price of this, market price of $25. When it first came out up here, we're talking $50. So it has literally halved in price basically. Now partly it is because although it's the poster child of the set in terms of the special illustration Terra EX card similar to the Charizard, it's not Charizard. Therefore, it's never going to keep its price. It's also, from a playability standpoint, Charizard, again, very playable, and you're seeing that in the decks. This card, however, currently as it stands, is not that playable. Not saying in the future it won't be, but right now it is not. So I think the only reason why this is staying at number 9 is just because it's a special illustration rare, and it's kind of like when you think of this set, Paradox Rift, this is a card that comes to mind. It's on all the booster packs and artwork. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does drop down even more going forward. Potentially out of the top 10. At number 8, we have one of my favorite cards from the set, and it is another special illustration rare, and it is of the Altaria EX. As a card, actually, it's kind of maintained its price. You'll see a lot of cards potentially on this list and other cards that have a dip around the beginning of November. That's partly because you've got the whole pre-release side of things coming out, and then everything tanked. For the most part, not everything works this way, and you might see some of that. And it's come back up to its original price and just slowly gone down. And I guess this is kind of what I would think as a card like this that will tank with the pre-release. However, the more it gets open, the more people realize how cool of an artwork this is. And to be fair, I do love it as the artwork. Not sure from a playability point of view at the moment, but just from a pure artwork standpoint, I think this is like a collector's dream. And so the fact it's spiked and has slowly gone back down a little bit, to me, is kind of what I expect from a card like this. So this has done nothing for me out of the ordinary. And the market price of $26.72. I can see this card going up in the future. Obviously, that's not financial advice, it's just my opinion. But I can see this doing a curve over the next sort of 3 or 4 months that sort of goes like this. Will sort of hit its bottom and then go back up. Now, that's when you look out. Obviously, over that, it'll go up and down. But that's how I see this card going. But no, a lovely card, and if you can pick this one up, I'll definitely recommend it from a collection point of view. Next up, in 7th spot, we have the illustration rare Groudon. Now again, this is on the packs, and when it was first spoiled, when the Japanese set, I thought this card is amazing and it's going to skyrocket in price. It did and it didn't. So when it first came out, and even at pre-release, for whatever reason, it It didn't really hit the mark. Everyone was talking about Roaring Moon, Iron Valiant, Mr. Cheese String himself, Goldengo, and it's kind of got left off, and then it slowly started to rise. Now when I say slowly, it doubled in price, but 10 to 20 for an illustration rare like this, yep, to me that's quite slow for what it is. It's also Groudon, the legendary Pokemon. It's got a massive history since it came out in Pokemon. The artwork is amazing with the volcano in the background and sort of, swelling power. You kind of get that from the card. I love it. It didn't quite dip like other cards did. It kind of stayed a bit stagnant. And then for whatever reason, at the beginning of November, jumped up to a $40 card. And again, it now is slowly going down. Kind of like the Altaro card we've just seen. And I guess this will do something similar in terms of curved. When you look out, when you zoom out, obviously, again, it'll go up and down kind of like it has. I can see this one not losing too much value in it going forward, and obviously when we go into the new year, when the hype of this set kind of dies down a bit, when you've got obviously the Paldean Fates coming out, etc., this could drop a bit more, but I definitely see this one going up in price, and it's a card I definitely want to get hold of as quickly as possible. In 6th place we have our first trainer card, and it is a supporter card, and that is Professor Sada's Vitality. Now obviously both the professors in this set, in terms of the storyline, quite relevant. They both do different things, but this being the special illustration rare of the Professor Sada, it was always going to be a bit more expensive, but also it is a very playable card. If you've been following TCG, obviously with the Roaring Moon deck, then this card is amazing for it and helps ramp it. So you go second with the Roaring Moon deck with Dark Patch and then Sada's Vitality. You essentially get your Roaring Moon with 3 dark energy on it, and bam, you basically literally kill anything, no matter what it is, apart from Mimikyu. Literally anything turn 1, essentially infinite damage. That being said though, from a price point, again, pre-release, $40 to me was never worth that, and it tanked again, as we see date-wise, like a lot of the set did when everything came out. It's kind of sort of like dipped up and down and recently dropped. Now we've just had the LAIC, and the Roaring Moon was a deck that was quite prevalent in there. However, everyone came prepped for it and didn't do as well as everyone thought. So I have a feeling that might have an impact on some of the prices of cards like Sada's Vitality. Do I think it's a $28 card? On the fence. I think this will go down more. I think we've not hit the floor of this card at all. I reckon this could become a $15 card quite easily. I'm willing to be wrong on that, but that's my personal opinion. As a card in TCG, I do love it. With the Porma and Dolive here. From a playability standpoint, at the moment, it's only got one deck that it's in, and it might take a few more sets before it becomes a mainstay in the TCG game. We now get into the top 5, and at number 5 we have our next trainer supporter card, and that is Parasol Lady. This is the special illustration rare, and unlike the Japanese version where the waifus always skyrocket in price, especially recently, in English they don't do quite as well. The exception to that recently is Iono, and that's partly just because how playable the card is. It is one of the most playable supporter cards we've had in a while that can fit essentially into any deck, obviously not quite every deck. Parasol Lady, however, artwork is lovely. The actual card itself from a playability point of view, a bit meh. So it had a bit of hype, obviously pre-release, etc. as it came in, and then bam, it just tanked. Now, when I say tanked, it's, it hasn't really dropped half in price. It's lost a good $10 overall, and it's kind of at the moment staying a bit flat overall. I know it's had this little spike here. This might stay flat for a bit longer, but kind of like Professor Sada, I think this will drop even more, kind of like the Miriam did, for example. So again, I'm waiting for this card to fall even more. Like with any of these, if you wait for too long, you might miss it, but that's what I'm going with. I also think a lot of the supporter waifus have way too much hype from going from the Japanese into the English, and therefore I always think it's worth waiting. That's my personal opinion. And with that, that is the last trainer card on this list. That's right, the top 4 are all Pokemon, and you'll soon see why. So our 4th spot goes to Iron Hands EX, and it is the special illustration rare. Now, this got a lot of hype. As soon as the cards were announced, it got a lot of hype. Not necessarily this version of it, but the card in general in terms of its ability. Amp you very much. Allows you to get extra prize cards. So if it's a 1 prize card you knock out, with this card, you get 2 prizes. If it's 2 cards, you get 3 cards, and so on. Now, in terms of the meta, it meant if you played against Lost Box, you were still getting 2 prizes for every Comfrey you're knocking out, for example. So everyone thought that was going to be the death of Lost Box. The weekend just gone shows that actually that's not quite the case. However, people weren't sure what deck this was going to go into. Obviously, you've got the Rhydon EX deck that can get the 4 mana onto this really easily and really quickly, and actually quite well at the weekend. So obviously it gained the hype and it jumped up to a $43 card. I don't think it is $43 personally, and it's dropped a little bit and it's kind of stable. It's slowly going down, but as of this weekend, I know the normal EX version of this will go up, so there's a chance this does go up a bit more and it might spike a bit more and go back towards the $40 mark. It's around $35 at the moment, so definitely want to keep an eye on. Short term this could go up in value, again $5-10, but if you've learned anything from Scarlet and Violet, even though you see these short term uptrends, overall due to the Pokemon market and obviously Scarlet and Violet in general, prices normally go down. There's only a handful of cards from a set that ever truly go up. But this card is definitely worthy of the hype, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does go up. And in third spot, we have the Goldengo. Now, I'm not a massive fan of this artwork. I think it's good and it's very in your face. It is Goldengo to a T, and it had a lot of hype because of number 1000 Pokemon. It's a new Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet, special illustration rare, and it's a very playable card. That being said, this is one of those cards that had all the hype in the world pre-release, and then boom, it dropped. Now don't get me wrong, as you can see, it's got here what market price 37. Some are still trying to sell at like around the $60 mark. It's not worth what it was when it first came out. I mean, you see this quite a lot. A lot of the cards, not always, there are always exceptions. A lot of the cards when they first come out, whether it's pre-release or even the first week, the more hype they have, the higher the price when they first come out, and then that hype doesn't quite stand. So it just drops. And this is one of the biggest cards, I think, of the set that kind of like encapsulates that. Has so much hype going into this set. So many people on YouTube were talking about it. I mean, it is a playable card, but the price to me was never going to be around $90. I think this could be a card that goes up to $50 quite easily over the next few months and stays around that for a bit. But I reckon this will fluctuate between $30 and $50 for a while. And then as the sort of next few sets come out in Scarlet and Violet, unless Paradox Rift is open, then I could see this card going up. But whilst the set's still new, I don't see it going above $50. I know up here it's got 57, but you know, when it says market price 37 here, it's got some room to grow. But again, Scarlet and Violet, if it's showing me anything, it's probably going to go down a lot more before it goes up. In second place we have, well, you've probably guessed it by now, and that is Iron Valiant EX, and its price chart is interesting to look at. But before we do that, so this is a special illustration version of it. The weekend just gone, again, the LAIC, we saw an amazing deck with Iron Valiant and Entei. Brilliant to watch with the Tachyon Bits ability. I'm not going to go into it now because that's not why you're watching this video. But artwork wise, this shows all the future Pokemon in it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, obviously itself. I don't know why I paused there. And is because it's got the future card here, the future here and the effect of it, it looks really cool. So this having the price that it is and being second as this was second on this list, to me is well deserved. In terms of price, it is a very interesting one. It gained hype, and rightly so, and a lot of terms of playability. It's done some funky shapes here, but kind of flat overall. That's partly because it is, along with Roaring Moon, the post child of Paradox Rift in terms of the artwork, the ETBs, etc. Special illustration rare, it's quite hard to get hold of, and it's playable. All of those combined means that this is always going to have a high price tag for it. This here, I'm not 100% sure what it is. I mean, it's only a $4 dip. It looks quite big on this just because of the price movement here is bigger than what it has done. Part of that is just because people are finding out, is it playable? Is it too gimmicky? And then all of a sudden, you come to the LAIC and actually people have found a playable deck. And I think that's partly why it's spiked back up to what it is. So on here is $59.60. And I feel like as the next couple of weeks in particular, because of those results, this could go up even higher. I say higher at $65, $70. So not much higher in that sense, but definitely more. That being said, the price, like I said, could go up a lot. Like I said, the price could go up another $10 as such quite quickly. It is an amazing card. It's got all the future Pokemon on it, even in Iron Thorns that we haven't actually had as a card yet. So yeah, this is an amazing card, and in person with the texture, really cool for collection. Number one is Roaring Moon. That's right, number one is the Roaring Moon EX, and it is a special illustration rare version. And my god, what a card it is, and the price kind of reflects that. So how do we break this down? So let's ignore the price for a second. Kind of like the Iron Valiant, the artwork is absolutely stunning, and it has all the ancient Pokemon sort of within the artwork, as you can see, sort of going around it. 1, 2, 3. So as an artwork piece, it's kind of again the poster child with Iron Valiant in terms of the ancient and future. Special illustration, rare, great card. You then come to the playability side. And this card, not necessarily this version, but the card overall, it had a lot of hype going into playability. It was deemed to be the new best deck of the format, that everyone playing in the format had to beat this deck or have cards in it that would beat it, and that it was just so aggressive that it was going to be unstoppable or like warp the meta. As of this weekend just gone, I don't think that's 100% true, and it might need refining as a deck. But as a result of that, this is why you sort of see this peak as it just goes up over here. So obviously pre-release prices, $80. I still think that's a bit high personally, but because of everything I've just said, that's why it started off so high. And it's kind of like the chase card of the set. And then as more and more people tested the card in the TCG game, and the more difficult it came to open this card, you can tell why it's gone up. Like every card, even the Iron Valiant, they've all tapered off a little bit. This is probably tapered off the most out of the top cards in that sense. That's partly because, well, it got quite expensive. When it got to the top here, it reached what, $114, and then once people realized that playability might not be as strong as it is and people were opening a bit more, it did tank. Now obviously it's $15 loss, which isn't the best in the world. You know, it's percentage wise, it's 12% or whatever, which is obviously a fair amount. This card I reckon will drop more because it's the card of the set. Obviously I have a feeling that it will still hold its value, but this does have a flaw that will probably, I feel like, will go back down to here, maybe slightly worse. But when, I don't know. Why it's still being talked about so much, why it's still being opened, and the deck in the metagame refined, this could sort of flatline around the $90 mark and sort of just wiggle up and down. That being said, it's a card I haven't opened yet. I've opened up some Royal Moon, as you've seen from the booster box opening. Don't forget there's still a giveaway going on in that one. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I've been able to provide some insight from my point of view from the prices and the top 10 currently. This top 10 list will change, and as I said, into the new year, once Fates has come out, I will redo this, and it'll be interesting to see what on this list changes, who drops out the top 10, who moves into top 10, but also the prices and trends that we see. Will Royal Moon be on number 1? And if so, will it be higher or less than $99? So let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I will see you on the next one. Take care, guys.